Hey everyone, have you ever looked at Kingston and wondered what would it cost me to live there? What would be my rent? What would be my monthly payment if I wanted to own a home there? What would be my property taxes, my property insurance, my car insurance? What would my phone bill be? I'm going to share all these things with you and more in this video. So I hope you're all staying safe, everyone. The vaccine rollout in Canada looks like it's finally picking up some steam here, so hopefully we can all soon begin a new and more positive chapter in our lives. Just remember in the meantime to stay safe and remember to look after yourself. Stay hydrated, eat healthy, get lots of exercise, get lots of sleep, all that great stuff. So if you're new to this channel, welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe button. I would really appreciate that. Hit those for more awesome content regarding real estate, investing, my personal journey as a realtor, all about Kingston, Ontario, and many other topics. So as I said in this video, I'm going to go over the costs you can expect to have if you move to Kingston, Ontario. So in order to do that, I need to make some assumptions, just to be sure, because there are many different scenarios that can change the cost of living. So for example, if you're a single person, if you're maybe a married couple, maybe you've got a large family with lots of kids, obviously the cost of living for those groups would be pretty significant, the differences, right? So, so for the sake of this video, we're just going to assume that you're a family of 4 looking for a 3-bedroom house. With that said though, if you have any questions about your unique situation or about Kingston in general, feel free to reach out. My team and I, we're always happy to help with any questions you have. So I'll also cover renting in Kingston as well to give you a comparison between the two. So if you're a renter, make sure to watch to the end of this video and I'll give you a breakdown of the differences between renting versus owning your own home. So first, let's go over if you buy a property. So another assumption I need to make is that when you buy a property, you're really looking to buy an average property. Now, average homes in the Kingston area, and this is as of when I'm recording this, so of course this could change down the road, but as of today, on May 20th, 2021, most average properties around here in Kingston, you're looking at somewhere between $500,000 to $600,000. So for the sake of this video, I'll assume that you bought a property for $500,000. So for $500,000, so if you were to buy it with 5% down, with a 5% down mortgage, and an interest rate of 1.79% on a 5-year fixed term, your monthly mortgage payments, you'd be looking at $2,042 per month. Again, that could change depending on the price of the home you buy, if you put more money down, what interest rates happen to be, etc. What I'll do as well, I'll leave a link in the description to a really cool website called ratehub.ca. So on that website, you're able to go and calculate everything about the home to see how your payment would change based on, rate, down payment, all that good stuff. But for the sake of the video, we'll assume your mortgage payment would be $2,042 per month. Now, of course, if you own a property, you will, of course, have property taxes that you have to pay to the city. Typically, you can either pay these every month or once per year in one lump sum. For the sake of this video, we're just going to say monthly, but again, it's up to you. Now, your monthly cost for property taxes in Kingston for a home valued at $500,000, you would be looking at $532 per month in property taxes. But again, this will vary because if you're going to a more expensive neighborhood, then of course your property taxes will be higher because it really depends on the price point of your property, which can of course cause your property taxes to change. Same thing, of course, if the property value is lower, then of course your property taxes would be lower in that case. So for the size of home, you should be able to get about 3-bed, 2-bath, or something similar in the $500,000 range. You'd also have property insurance that you have to pay as well, homeowners insurance, it's often called. So for a size of home like that, you'd be looking at around $140 a month. Again, it could go up for certain things, like if your home is really old and it has knob and tube wiring. If you don't know what knob and tube wiring is, don't worry, don't stress about it. It's an old type of wiring that you see a lot of times properties built in the 40s and 50s have it, not really a concern with newer builds. So if you're looking at a newer home made within the last, call it 20 or 30 years, let's say, your insurance will probably be lower. And now because you own a home, you can of course expect unexpected things, which sounds like it makes no sense, but hear me out for 2 seconds. So these unexpected things could be things like repairs and maintenance on your home. So to give you an example, maybe a pipe breaks, for example, and it needs to be replaced. Different things like that. So this part is really more of a contingency fund to make sure you have money set aside just in case things like this happen down the road. So a good rule of thumb for this would be to set aside about $200 a month. Again, you can customize it to fit your situation, but for the sake of this video, we'll say $200 a month. Of course, you also have utility bills. So again, another assumption is that you're a family of 3 to 4 people. So my average electricity bill with a household of 2 people, myself and my spouse in Kingston, we typically pay about $50 a month on average, and that's for 2 people. You'd also have a water bill. So in Canada, you get charged for water coming into the home and also for wastewater, so water going out of the home. So a good rule of thumb is just be careful how much water you're using when you do things like the dishes or when you flush the toilet 300 times, because you're paying for that through your water bill. Now, I'm going to assume that most people are pretty responsible with their water usage and utilities in general. So you could expect an average water bill in Canada, in Kingston, of around about $100 per month. In Canada, of course, as we all know, it gets very, very cold here in the wintertime, so you absolutely need a heating system for your home. So there's a few different ways you can heat your home, such as gas and electric. There's some other ones, but for the sake of this video, we're going to assume that you have a gas furnace heating and cooling system. So if that's the case, your average gas bill, you'd probably be around about $75 a month. So just to recap where we're at in terms of our utilities, electricity around about $50 a month, water would be averaging $100 a month, and gas would be averaging $75 a month. Now, of course, we do live in the 21st century, in 2021 here, so you're absolutely going to need internet. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but I don't think I could really survive without internet access. I mean, if I didn't have internet access, I couldn't create awesome videos like this. So these days, if you shop around in Canada, it's actually gotten pretty good lately. But here in Kingston, I myself use Virgin for my internet, and I typically pay about $40. I pay about $40 a month for internet. It varies, of course, from company to company. So let's say, to be on the safe side, we're going to assume an average of about $50 a month for a halfway decent internet plan. So you may also want to own a car. Now, the really cool thing about smaller cities, such as Kingston, that makes them competitive with bigger cities, is that car insurance is way cheaper in Kingston. So to give you an idea, right now in Kingston, so for 2 vehicles on a joint policy, my spouse and I were paying about $250 per month for the 2 cars. So if you want to own a car, places like Kingston can be a very, very good option. Myself, I used to live in Toronto, and when I moved to Kingston, my car insurance dropped pretty much in half. That can, of course, vary depending on driving record and things like that, but good rule of thumb is you could expect to pay about 50% less out here for car insurance than in the bigger cities. So I'm assuming if you own a car, you probably want to drive it, right? Well, then you're obviously going to need gas for your car, unless it's electric, but for most people at this point, you still need gas for your car. So the great thing about cities like Kingston, being smaller, of course, is that they're pretty compact. So you can really get anywhere you would need to go in terms of commute, shopping, amenities, things like that, within about 10 to 15 minutes at the very most. So for me, for gas, I only end up really needing to gas up my car to fill it up really about once a month. I usually just fill it up at the beginning of the month, and that's usually plenty of gas to get me through. I mean, I typically I go to meetings with clients, I go get groceries, things like that. So even if you don't have the most efficient car in the world, you can usually expect your gas bill to go down by quite a bit. So for me, I typically spend about $50 on gas per month based on current prices. So of course, you're obviously going to need food. You can't just not eat, unfortunately. not really optional. And this is another one that can be very different for everyone, depending on your preferred diet, how often you go shopping, how many people are in your family, and so on. But for the sake of the video, I'll just assume that on average, for my household of 2 people, we're spending about $400 a month for a good variety of food, meat, seafood, vegetables, some sweets every now and then, etc. But again, it will vary based on the size of your household. Obviously, if you have a large household with children, for instance, of course, you're going to need more groceries, more food at that point. So in total, if you're looking to be a homeowner in Kingston, I would say the total cost you can expect it to pay on a monthly basis in Kingston is somewhere around about, when you add everything up that we've discussed, somewhere around about $3,840 per month. Again, it could be higher or it could be lower, depending on your circumstances. But this is just a rough average number based on my personal experience and my personal research. Now, what about if you're a renter? Well, if you're looking to rent a place in Kingston, surprisingly, it's not that big of a difference price-wise from being a homeowner. So if you were looking to rent a 3-bedroom apartment or home in or around Kingston, based on my research looking at the market as of now, you're looking at on average really anywhere from about $2,500 to $3,000 a month for rent. That is going to vary, of course, depending on where in the city it is, size of the unit, things like that. But that's probably a good ballpark for a decent sized unit in a decent area of town. You're probably looking at $2,500 and up for the rent. Now, if you remember back to my initial talk about the mortgage payment for a property, it's really ends up being in that same ballpark, or actually a little bit cheaper. You pay about $2,042 a month. And in some cases, if you want better amenities in your rental place, so things like, say, a better location, indoor parking, maybe you want a pool or you want a gym, different things like that, you can expect to pay even more. I mean, $3,000 a month for a high-end place, on the waterfront in historic downtown Kingston near Queen's University, is not out of the question in one of the new high-end buildings. So again, I mean, your mortgage can of course go up too, but it's very similar. The only difference really would be that as a renter, you don't have to pay the property taxes, you don't have to pay the home insurance, and you don't have the miscellaneous extra $200 a month or thereabouts for repairs and maintenance, because typically most of the time your landlord would take care of those things for you, especially if it's just routine maintenance, changing light bulbs, changing smoke detector batteries, normal wear and tear on a unit. There are different things like that. So for renting a 3-bedroom place in Kingston, you could expect your expenses to be around about $2,900 to $3,000 a month or thereabouts, again, depending on the rent you pay. All other things being equal in terms of car insurance, groceries, internet, phone bill, different things like that. Again, it could go higher or lower, and this is just based on some assumptions that I've made, like family size, as well as my personal research. If you're from Kingston, though, let me know in the comments below, how close am I with these numbers? And if you're looking to come to Kingston to live in Kingston in the Limestone City, let me know in the comments what you think of these numbers. Are they higher than where you are? Are they lower than where you are? I want to hear your feedback, and I'd love to know. So with that said, thank you very much, everybody, for very patiently sitting through here and going through all those details with me, and I hope I've added some value for you today. If you think I have, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you want to, and have yourselves a wonderful day.